Flame on! How's everybody doing tonight? I'm here with my special guest, Taladia Plays. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another blazing Shonen episode, guys. This is gonna be great. Can't wait to talk about Dragon Ball, Sparking Zero, and doing the Kamehameha.
If you're just now joining us, yesterday we paid our respects to the great Kira Toriyama and his legacy, and we wish sincere condolences to his family and everyone he's impacted. With that moment of tribute out the way, first, not only we're going to talk about the gaming news, but do you actually have any expectations or predictions for the future of the franchise going forward, or do you think they're just going to take a year or two off via
So,
hiatus?
so in terms of anime, they're gonna do the anime stuff. Don't get me wrong, they will do Daima.
Daima's Daima's full steam. Okay, there's no stopping that.
There's no stopping that. In terms of like other stuff, they probably will continue to do it, but it'll be like a year off before they actually come back to doing Dragon Ball content in terms of anime, movies. I think what the next step for them is to do a Dragon Ball Super, but do it after the events of not after the events of the Tournament of Power or after the events of Broly, but after the events of Superhero. You remember from the manga? Because
Yeah. Wait. So, is are you going for a Battle of Gods Resurrection F situation where they recap the movies?
no,
Okay.
it's them like so Goku versus Ultra Instinct. So Goku Ultra Instinct versus Gohan Beast Gohan.
Okay.
The
From the latest chapter. Okay, I know what you're
latest
talking.
chapter. So they carry on from there from then on out. So you can tell that story, compelling story, and it can kind of lead to where Akira Toriyama was going to go next. Because remember, Akira Toriyama has got a successor.
He
If you
does
don't
enjoy
know,
talking.
yeah. So he has got a successor. So the bad Dragon Ball franchise is in good hands. But like I said, I think they need about a year or two off before they can come back and do anime, full blown anime. I don't think the Moro or Granola arc would be enough for them to do a full anime sort of anime.
Okay, Moro, you kind of have to do an anime because there's like a 3 month gap halfway through because it gives time for the Z Fighters to prepare for Moro and his pirate crew attacking the planet and the end of Z connections with Oob. So you could probably get away with making Moro an arc, but Granola, that's so self-contained. You could make that a movie adaptation and you wouldn't have to change a whole lot.
But they've already done superhero, you see, so there's no way for them to go back in time.
I agree.
So they have to go forward. Now the best thing for them to go forward in is just to do what Dragon Ball Super is doing right now in the comics, in the manga, and continue on from there.
I agree. And even with that, and thank you so much for everyone who's joining us so far. And for me, even with the Sparking Zero news, I would much rather have them actually, take the time to reflect, honor Akira Toriyama's legacy, and take the year off than rush content as if it's business as usual. I mean, show a little bit of decorum. I'm not saying, Daima, that's too far along, regardless of whether it's a promotional anime or not. But even if you delayed it a couple of months, that shows a lot of good grace and goodwill all across the board. And I don't think we've gotten any new information on Daima since since the last announcement.
No, nothing on Daima because I think it was down to timing. Timing
Okay.
is wrong.
So Daima was going to get delayed regardless. Okay.
No, it wasn't going to get delayed. But with Toriyama's death, um, it kind of is going to get delayed at this point. It's inevitable to get delayed from 2024, uh, whatever whatever the time is, whether it's summer, autumn, or winter, it'll probably get delayed even further to probably be pushed to 2025. If I had to guess, it depends on what the Dragon Ball's
Room,
scenario
the
is like.
Dragon Room,
Yeah,
decide to do.
yeah. It'll depends on what they want to do next. But that's pretty much the Dragon Ball anime stuff out the way. In terms of the video game stuff, they're going to continue to pump as much content for those games as they can. I can tell you that for a fact.
Oh yeah, that's probably going to be business as usual. Not going to lie.
That will be business as usual because the fact is with video games they can get away with it. And like Xenoverse 2, they'll pump as much Xenoverse, different um, scenarios for Dragon Ball Super or Dragon Ball GT or whatever, and they'll put that into the video games for Xenoverse 2. Fighters, I reckon we're going to get more DLC for Fighters because considering Fighters just got an update to PS5, same with Xenoverse 2, I reckon they're going to put DLC out. I don't think they'll stop. I mean, they can put Omega Omega Shenron. Um, they
Super
can
Saiyan 4 Gogeta, the more prominent characters of GT.
well, they already got Super Saiyan for Gogeta.
I was just using that as an example, but the only prominent characters in GT, they got Super Saiyan 4 Goku, Kid Goku GT, Super 17, Omega Shenron, Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, Gogeta. I think they used all of them. Hold on, BRB.
Okay. While he's gone, guys, this is my stream now. So, while he's gone to do something, I'll just say this. Right, we got Dragon Ball. Like in fighters, there's a lot. There's a lot coming. Um, I reckon there's going to be more DLCs than you could imagine. And by the way, Super Wonderful Life, Wonderbat sucks.
I got no problem with it, Taladia. Again, I'm not a fan of shipping, so it doesn't bother me.
Okay, I thought I'll just put it in there.
But back to our regularly scheduled program. The Dragon Ball to me, again, we got some more news on Sparking Zero coming out for you in just a few minutes. But the last thing I'm going to say on this section is, at this point, let's just take the time to breathe, pay our respects, and then go into 2025 with whatever content we get and continue to honor one of the greats.
I mean, before we do that, like fighters, like you said, fighters will have. There is more fighters characters you could use in Dragon Ball Fighters, right?
Right.
So there is characters such as Dispo, Topo, Universe's Ribian. There's characters like that we've never had in Fighters. You could bring Kaba in. We've never had Kaba in Fighters. It'd be really cool to have Kaba. Well, who else was there?
Wait, was Raditz playable on Fighters? Because I could have sworn I saw something online with some Raditz gameplay, or was that a mod?
I think that was a mod.
Okay.
Raditz would be another cool character. I think another one is King Piccolo. King Piccolo, you could do that, or even Orange Piccolo, Beast Gohan. Have them with the two androids would be pretty cool. So
I agree. I'd argue that's next. That's going to be in the next update.
I reckon so. Yeah. But
And
go on.
if you guys have any ideas for what should be the future Dragon Ball, whatever character they should put in certain games, feel free to let us know in the comment section, whether you're joining us on YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch.
Yes. So shall we talk about the next thing?
That we should. Just give me a minute to change the banner. Go ahead.
Okay. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero had a V-Jump scam recently. And they announced several new characters that weren't that weren't unveiled yet, but they will be unveiled in a new trailer coming soon. There is the Ribian's universe, where I think it was one of her sisters or whatever. She's gonna be in the game.
Okay.
Dispo's gonna be in the game. Topo's gonna be in the game. Super Saiyan, Super Saiyan, Legendary Super Saiyan Broly is gonna be in the game. Um, and pretty much they talk about the mechanics for the game too within the V-jump scan.
Okay.
Now I don't know if you've seen it. Have you seen the V-jump scan?
Again, I just got out of class just a little over an hour ago, so I
Let me
hadn't.
let me see if I can find it for you.
Okay. And I will screen share it once you find it.
Uh, I know I retweeted it.
But while we're waiting on that, I feel like, excuse me, this is because we've been in this situation before when the creator of Berserk passed away, when the creator of Yu-Gi-Oh passed away. It was such a screeching halt for everyone involved. It's almost hard to get as invested as we were before.
Uh-huh.
But at the same time, it also inspires new people that say, hey, maybe who were a bit further along when those anime came out, that, hey, let me give this show a try. And who knows, it might bring new fans and old.
Aha, I found it. I have found it. Can I screen share?
Go ahead.
This is coming from DBS Hype. Now I just need to zoom in. Hold on.
Nice.
So this is as you can see, Super Saiyan Legendary Super Saiyan Broly. You got Jason. Oh yeah, Jason Berta is going to be in the game. Kafla's the Universe 6 version of Broly is going to be in the game.
Kale.
Kale, yeah, that's it. Super Trunks, Master Roshi doing Kamehameha full power. And then you got Hit here. You got Hit with Universe 6. As you can see, Topo with Bez and Jace. Dispo. I don't know. I can't remember that character's name, but she's from Ribian's universe. And you got Vegeta and Goku. What do you think?
Awesome start. Like some of these are kind of are as far back as DBZ, so some of these were kind of to be expected. And even we got a Dragon Ball Legends announcement as well. That I do know. And this is
Yeah,
promotion information on Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. I believe End of Z is going to be the last DLC for that game.
maybe. I'm not 100% sure.
But do you see Sparking? Is Sparking Zero? Do we still have an official release date?
No,
No. So
no official release date yet. I reckon this release date. You can give it to the banner, by the way.
okay,
I think the release date will probably be in the next trailer.
more than likely, more than likely.
Now, it depends on how Dragon Ball, how they want to plan things out right now. Are they going to rush things and get it out for the end of the year, or they're going to wait until next year?
If I were now from a business standpoint, it makes sense to save it till next year. Save it to like summer of 2025.
Yeah.
if you try to rush it now, it could, especially on an anniversary year. I'm not saying it's going to be a Sonic 06 situation, Lord forbid, but it would be pretty egregious if they rush this game out. It would be pretty bad.
Agreed.
So
So
yeah,
so I'll say this before we switch gears. I think it's a good place to switch gears after talking about this. I
okay,
think I think the release date would probably be Q4 2024 or Q1 of 2025. I think that's the best safest scenario for them. Um, for Sparking Zero. Now it depends on how much more marketing is going to go into the game. I reckon there will be marketing in June. I think June will be the safest bet because you got Summer Game Fest coming up, right? In a couple of months' time.
yes,
So I reckon there will be a trailer there. Or they'll have more footage there, I reckon.
I agree. I agree.
So only time will tell though, guys. Honestly, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero will I reckon the game will be top notch. There's no denying it.
Sorry,
Like
sorry about that. I'm in the middle of dinner, but yeah, I think it's about time we transition to our next topic. You had some DC gaming news for us, Taladia.
yes, WB Games Montreal are looking for a new creative director for the next game or their upcoming game or whatever. They're looking for a new creative director. Also, also in this, I was also told that the studio head at WB Games Montreal has left the studio, has left the company.
Wait, what?
Yeah, WB Montreal studio heads left the company.
I can't say I'm surprised, but still.
It's basically because what's happened with Gotham Knights and what's happened with Suicide Squad, and everyone's going to be asking that question now: is that what is Warner Brothers going to be doing next? And with multiverses literally coming, coming pretty soon, it's coming out in the next couple of months. I can see Warner Brothers pushing more live service stuff for that game than they do with Suicide Squad. I think they already classified Suicide Squad as a failure, but they're not gonna do anything else with that game. I'm telling you, I think it's probably gonna get that one DLC, and that's pretty much it. They're not gonna push it, push.
So Deathstroke, Mrs. Freeze, Deadshot's daughter, you think all that's going to get scrapped?
I there's a highly chance that might be the case.
You
There's a
hate to
highly
see.
ch- there's a reason why I say that, and there's there's several reasons. First reason is obviously because of the failure. Second reason is there's not enough not enough player base to play the game, and there's still bugs in the game.
Oh yeah, definitely. And say what you will, but I'm just going to be completely honest with you guys because that's what you guys deserve. If Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League was a standalone, not connected to the Arkhamverse in any way, people would not be nowhere near as up in arms about it.
I think if it wasn't a shooter based game, they would have saved them a lot of hassle. The live service element wasn't the issue. The
No, it
live
wasn't.
serv- it wasn't the live service element. It was the shooter based elements that was the problem, in my opinion.
It doesn't work within the context of the story mode. Other than Fortnite and Apex, and even then they've started falling off in recent years. The trend is on a steady decline. It's probably going to age out within the next year or two if it hasn't
Yeah,
already. So even and yes, you got Helldivers 2, and that is a corporate success. But Helldivers 2, there's actually an overarching story, and the game mechanic makes sense for that game. Fortnite is just pure escapist fun, and you pretty much just and with customizable skin.
yeah.
It's
With,
basically
with Suicide,
this just a
but with
mix of Call of Duty and Lego.
See, with Suicide Squad, what they could have done, they could have used the Arkham mechanics. So like the combat mechanics for like King Shark having melee attack, Harley Quinn having
Yes,
melee attacks, Captain Boomerang throwing his boomerangs, right?
right.
And you could have obviously you could have had Deadshot using one gun because you could use that. But no, they had to use all the characters to use guns, and it kind of off puts fans from playing that game. And everyone, like I've noticed, I spoke to one of my friends recently, and he said he refunded the game. He was like, I'm not playing it. I'm not playing it anymore. There's too many bugs in the game, so he refunded it.
And
Yeah.
I have started my playthrough on Gotham Knights, which Talati and I are planning our Gotham Knights video game 2 years later video. We are planning that. And even with my recent playthrough so far, at least Nightwing, Red Hood, Tim Drake, Robin, Batgirl, at least they had different combat styles. They have their own moveset, they have their own mannerisms, they have things that set them apart, even in their gameplay and their individual aspects, as it were. With Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, it's just generic. Everyone has pretty much a, I'm not going to say it on YouTube, but you know what I'm talking about. Everyone has similar mechanics, grappling mechanics. The only one that really stands apart is maybe Deadshot with his jetpack, and of course King Shark, who just has his super leap, for lack of a better term. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is just that much more generic in comparison. Now, a Bat Family ensemble game without Batman himself, that was going to be a reach because Batman is considered the golden goose or the golden bat, see what I did there, of Warner Brothers and DC. So that was going to be a high hill battle regardless. But Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, this was a game. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, Talati, please do. But this was basically the video, and at least in my opinion, the video game equivalent of the Flash movie, to where this was a project in development hell for the latter half of a decade, and they just took the hit and crapped it out.
The thing is, like, here's the thing with Suicide Squad, right? Suicide Squad was a live service from the get-go.
Yes.
Gotham Knights had live service, but they took that element out. And let's put it like this. If the live service element was in the game, I think it would have saved the game.
What makes you say that, Taladia?
What makes me save that live service for Gotham Knights? Because there would have been more context for Gotham Knights to have more content in the game.
Oh, it would have definitely gave it a shelf life. Don't get me wrong, but are we talking like DLC, any game?
DLC wise and gameplay mechanics, and plus, on top of that, there would have been more villains being added to the game, or that would have been in the game. That's what I'm saying. Like, Suicide Squad has to come up with the goods now, and I think after Joker, what they need to do, either bring back the Justice League, or just classify this game as DOA, classify as dead, and just move on to the next project.
Now let's have that conversation because it arguably, some people say online, even if you bring the Justice League back or a last minute retcon that these were duplicates or clones, it won't save the game because the damage has been done. Excuse me, Kevin Conroy's last project, even though it's been discredited that he'll at least have a voice in cameo, at least he'll have a line or two in Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 3. But with Kevin Conroy's passing, the hysterics, and yeah, the nostalgia and emotional impact, you were going to piss people off regardless. It's a good moment for Harley Quinn, given everything she's been through, whether it be through Joker and basically this new direction she was in the context of that game. But even with that, an easy fix, and I would never say this unless it was no other scenario. If you actually had both Batman and Diana being the only members of the league that weren't fully taken over or not taken over yet by Brainiac, a lot. The story at least would have been somewhat forgivable.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem with WB Games right now.
Okay.
Because they made well, I would say the higher ups forced Rocksteady's hand to make it live service. It wasn't Rocksteady's decision to be a live service game, right?
Right.
I could tell this wasn't the handiwork of Jamie Walker and Sefton Hill. This looks like a WB thing. They saw that live service elements were working back in 2017, so they forced it down Rocksteady's throat to make a live service game.
And look where it
Remember,
got.
remember, 2017 was the year that live service elements was kind of high at the highest point, but then it kind of dipped after 2017.
It peaked.
It peaked at 2017, and then that's pretty much it. 2017 was the one year that it was really good. Now, the only way that Rocksteady can not salvage the game, but save the Arkhamverse, so to say, bring back the Justice League and reset the universe. That's the best way to do it.
Go full Flashpoint. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, full Flashpoint. It has to be done at Flashpoint. That's the only way you can pretty much salvage the universe. That way, when you've rebooted the universe, you can build games on like Superman, Batman, Flash, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman. You could get away with it then. Like that's the way I think anyway, because Rocksteady after the whole situation with Rocksteady right now, they need a single player game after this.
They do. They do. Even if they're likely just going to go back to the golden goose that is Batman, but they definitely need a
I
successful.
don't think they're going back to Batman. I don't think they're gonna go back to Batman. It won't
Okay,
be
hot
Batman.
take. What makes you say that? Well, other than Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad, you think they're going to let the heat die down on that before doing another Batman project?
Yeah, they'll let the heat die down before they go on to doing another Batman game, or it'll probably be something like Flash, Green Lantern. I mean, those games can work. Um, maybe even Superman if WB Montreal isn't working on a Superman game. But I do believe WB Montreal is indeed working on a Superman game, and I fully expect that game announcement to be pretty soon. That is
Okay.
from I probably expect that from WB Montreal, whereas Rocksteady obviously got a few years to get their next game out. Monolith has got Wonder Woman, and that game is obviously being helped on with WB Montreal. I do know that as a fact. So with WB Montreal helping Monolith Productions with the Wonder Woman game as a support studio, so to say, um, I can see this game getting released either the end of this year or beginning of next year.
I agree.
I think there's a reason why I say this. It's basically because Wonder Woman has to sell. It,
Yes.
ha- it has to sell for Warner Brothers. If they make the Wonder Woman game live service and they put the live service elements into the game, it's a big L. It's a big loss for
It
Warner
is.
Brothers.
It has to be a solo, self-contained, single player project. Excuse me. It has to be
You
at this
can't
point.
you can't do, oh, I want a non-live service game and I want this game to, oh, sorry, I want a live service game and I want this game to do well. No, you can't bank on that type of thing.
You can't have
Uh,
your cake and eat it too at this late in the game.
no, you
You
can't.
can't.
You
You can't.
can't. And you can't cancel Wonder Woman either. You're already far much into development. You can't
Too
cancel
far
it.
along. Regardless of DCU synergy, you are too far along to scrap that project.
Yeah, too far along, right? As for the one, like WB Montreal, they have got time, obviously, to change up the game or whatnot, but it has to be Superman. Like they can't just they can't leave the character to languish.
And first of all, let me just go ahead and pull up the banner right here. And second, I even went on when I collabed with Jared on Super Wonder Legacy. I brought this up in our debate. I believe this was 3 episodes ago. I could be wrong on that. But I brought this up that out of the Trinity, say what you will about how the Trinity is not really applied that much in comics, it's more of a marketing stint. Say what you will about that. But out of the three, Wonder Woman has the weakest IP out of the three. Now, granted, Batman is very up there and arguably one of the more iconic and marketable heroes out there, even though Superman was one of the first. But even with that, Superman is only slightly higher than Wonder Woman, and that's not by much. And if you're gonna, and if this factors with DCU, and Wonder Woman's not going to play a role in Chapter 1 of James Gunn's new cinematic universe, or they're saving her strictly for Justice League, you kind of need something to hold fans over and keep people invested. Now, Paradise Lost, a de facto prequel focusing on the Amazons, that's a good first step. But is it just going to be just that project alone, or is that just the main setting and Diana plays a role towards the end? Because if you're going to go that route, and this is supposed to last all the way to the end of Chapter 1, which is roughly 3 years worth of projects, either Paradise Lost gets a second season, or Wonder Woman gets a movie. It's one or the other. Would you agree, Taladia?
Yeah, I would agree, but I mean, Superman. I mean, here's the thing. The way I see it is the Superman IP needs top notch right now. You can't leave him to languish. You cannot leave. You can't leave any of the top three characters to languish. Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. If you leave them to languish so much, then people aren't going to be interested in any of the projects you do. Superman the movie, there was Superman movie, for example, from James Gunn, right? The reason why
Right.
the reason why that's happening is basically because Warner Brothers forced their hands. They needed a Superman movie. Otherwise, they'd be the laughing stock of the Hollywood block.
You ain't lying. You ain't lying.
I mean, there hasn't been a Superman movie in over a decade, right?
It says
And
2006.
no, 2013 was the
Oh, right.
last.
I forgot Man of Steel. My mistake.
Yeah, Man of Steel was the last Superman solo film. In video games, he hasn't had a game since 2006. They tried in 2008, and WB didn't want to financially support it, so they financially went bankrupt. But it was a solid idea for a game, very
Wait,
solid.
I thought Man of Steel did get a tie-in companion game.
No, no, well, Man of Steel did have a tie-in game, but that was a mobile game.
Oh,
Right?
it was okay. It was mobile. All right.
Yeah. Whereas um, after Superman Returns, there was going to be a Superman video game under the title Blue Steel, as with the famous Blue Steel video game. Um, the reason why that didn't work out was because of the financial crisis, which was the not global pandemic, global financial crisis that shut down the markets. And let's just say Warner Brothers weren't going to pay for anything when that happened. Financially, didn't support the studio. The studio had to shut down. The publisher had to also had to be shut down, which was Brash Entertainment. But the idea was there. The idea was top notch. It was a brawler type Superman game. You know, it had 3 chapters essentially. Was you could explore Metropolis if you could as a semi-open world environment type of thing, and you would have really enjoyed that game. Um, as for but then they tried it again in 2014 with Superman. There was another Superman game in production, but the reason why that didn't work out was because of the fact that they mandatory WB made it mandatory to have the Arkham engine in every single DC game that they do from then on out,
They did.
and they didn't work.
They weren't.
That's why Warner Brothers doesn't really know how the gaming industry works, because they expect every game to have the Arkham engine. That's why the Suicide Squad game from WB Montreal also got canned because it didn't work out there. So they had to give that IP to Rocksteady in order for Rocksteady to make that game, and WB Montreal to make a different IP. Here's my theory. This is the theory I'm putting out there. I believe WB has probably told WB Montreal to make a Superman game, and just to make this not a tie-in game, but moreover a game that can get the fans on side.
That is a very solid theory. Just a standalone Superman game to help hold us over till Superman Legacy comes out. That's a safe bet because, like I said earlier, you could argue Batman's the golden goose, but after the heat they got for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, they're not going to take that chance. They're not going to do a Batman adjacent project.
I mean, they can never. There's no way that them doing a Batman Beyond game right now.
No.
There's no chance of them doing that. Because if you're going to do a Batman Beyond game, you're going to need an older Batman. Who are you going to play as an older Batman? You can't use Kevin Conroy. He's not here.
Now, Bruce Greenwood is a close second. He has a very solid Batman performance.
Remember,
he can do it.
Remember, this is an 80-year-old Batman you need. So 80-year-old Bruce Wayne.
That is true. But we do have the Batman Beyond comic Neo year, which actually takes place after Bruce Wayne passes away. So you could do a Neo year setting, a Neo year adaptation within the game story.
WB isn't going to chance it like that because they know that if it's not Conroy, it doesn't sell.
You're not lying. You are not lying.
I mean, they tried the Batman Beyond game with WB Montreal. But the reason why that fell through was because the fact that it leaked so much that they had to stop
doing it.
No, they had to stop recording sessions. They were doing recording sessions for that game. This was coming from Josh Keaton, who was Electro in a Marvel Spider-Man. He was going to play Damian Wayne in the Damian Wayne Batman game.
Now, I do have that Batman retrospective. I'm actually editing it now as we speak. That should come out within the next coming days. But even with that, I get that Damian Wayne is not the most popular character out there. Yes, he's spontaneous, he's impulsive, he's brash. But from what we saw from those leaks, granted this is alleged, from what we saw from those leaks, this would have been a post-adolescent to young adult Damian Wayne. You are different, for better, for worse, as an adult compared to where you are when you were a child. And if Damian, now granted this was standalone, so this Damian Wayne game wasn't going to be like Arkham Beyond or anything like that. This was completely standalone. So even if you had to tone down Damian ever so slightly, it could have worked. But the character has so much heat. He's so much of a heel, especially when you already have Terry McGinnis there as the main Batman Beyond. I can see why people reacted the way they did. If it were up to me, if I had to do a Batman Beyond game, I would have Damian in the Ra's al Ghul role and be an anti-hero. That at least that way I have my cake and eat it too. But again, that's just how I would have done it.
Yeah, agreed. Well, only time will tell where only time will tell how Warner Brothers want to do things going forward. You know what I mean?
Yeah, only time will tell. I know exactly what you're feeling. I completely agree.
Because things are just hectic. Things are just hectic right now with things are just hectic at Warner Brothers Discovery and
DC in general?
Yeah, DC in general, yes.
Excuse me. Even with all of that, even with it, just where do we go from here? I feel like that's the most appropriate way we could take this from here. Where do we go from here? we have no confirmed projects, but with James Gunn's DCU being kicked off, Superman, with Creature Commandos,
Yeah.
Superman Legacy,
Hmm.
what are aspects to where we could actually benefit both as consumers, as fans, and DC in general? Would you say it's safer for Zaslav to just cut his losses and sell to Universal, or do you think that
He has
Superman
to.
Legacy deserve a chance?
Well, Superman will get his movie out, right? Don't get me wrong. He will
Yeah,
get Superman movie from James Gunn will be released. That's no shadow of a doubt. The Warner Brothers has to release it. Once that is released, then you could possibly see a sale happening, right?
right,
I could see the sale being happening. Um, and Warner Brothers it's not like it's not the fault of Warner Brothers Discovery, but it's the fact that Warner Media made themselves bankrupt. Well, almost bankrupt, so to say, right?
right.
It, it's crazy to think that what Warner Brothers could have done right now is they could have released the Snyder Cut to Netflix, right? They could have done that, and they would have
Right.
made their money back, right?
Right.
Furthermore, in the video game world, they could have done a Superman game or another or um a Justice League game, and they would have made money easily. But no, they tried to be the hero. They did a live service game and they did a Suicide Squad game and expecting people to be happy with it.
And even if we factored, oh, Hogwarts Legacy was a success, Hogwarts Legacy had a lot of factors going into it. You can't
Yeah,
even remotely compare the two.
you can't remotely compare Suicide Squad to Hogwarts Legacy. They're two different genres, two different type of games, and the studio doesn't really understand the gaming market.
I agree.
Like
Because please continue.
it's like I said, I just think where the way Warner Brothers is looking at everything, it's not them looking at the bigger picture here. Like for me, I'm a big gamer. So obviously I love my video games. I love my superhero video games. But what they need to do is to go do what Marvel is doing in their gaming universe, right?
Right.
Start spreading your wings and start doing single player games, licensing out the IPs to different studios, and getting people on board to make these games. If you don't do that, you're never going to be able to achieve greatness in the video game world.
I agree. You can you can only stand on an island for so long.
The-
It,
There's only so much you can do as a in-house studio where there's only so much the in-house studio can take where once you have these developers come in, they make the game for you, and if it flops, they'll leave the studio. Prime example, WB Montreal. Another prime example, Rocksteady's studio heads leaving the studio. So if you got any
the
questions
past.
you'd like to ask, go on.
Oh, what's up, Najee? Uh, Warner Brothers Discovery still being sold by April. Okay, there are talks, and even if there are negotiations going on right now, let me be on camera for this. Even if there are still negotiations going on right now, you still have a whole year to get everything approved. So Universal could back out at any time.
Hmm. But the likely scenario, WB will be sold regardless because everything across the board is is screwed.
It
Everything
is.
from movies, TV show, animation, video games. Like, I'm sorry, but you can't expect Suicide Squad to be a top-notch DC brand to sell the brand. It's not gonna work. You're gonna have to be a single-player experience. Wonder Woman will be the pinnacle. If that game sells well and does well, then they can go see. Then they can be like, oh yeah, Wonder Woman sold well. Why don't we just go back and do that? But because they don't have that mindset, and they spoke to the investors and were at the special conference or whatnot, and said to these investors, we're going to make more live service game. We're going to double down on it. You do you understand what's going to happen if you do double down on this stuff?
It's basically the Ouroboros. You're basically chasing your own tail at that point,
You're
and you wouldn't know.
bombing. You're bombing your own brand. You're bombing your own brand. That's the best way to put it.
Did you hear about the multiversals game?
Yes,
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 because
yes,
yeah, we
yes,
talked
yes.
about that earlier. But as at least the way I'm seeing the situation, DC is, and this is Warner Brothers Discovery in general. It's a mess. Zaslav inherited this mess. Was he able to trim the fat with some tax write-offs? Yes. But once you reach the 60 to 65% margin in the red, that's concerning. From a business standpoint, that is a red flag.
Yeah. Pretty much you can't expect fans to react happy to when you announce games to be live service going forward. Like I'd understand multiverses. Yes, I would understand fighting game genre. I would understand it. But non-fighting games, you cannot do non-fighting games live service because it never works out.
Nope.
Suicide Squad flopped,
Wait,
and then
was Overwatch live service, or am I confusing that for another project?
Overwatch was live service, yes.
Okay, thank you.
But the thing is, the thing is with Overwatch, there's a niche there. There is a niche there. There is a market there. Suicide Squad doesn't have a market. That's the thing. That's the difference between Overwatch and Suicide Squad, right?
Right.
Um, but like here's some fun facts for you that I wanted to share.
Okay.
Um, Suicide Squad in sales in the first 5 weeks after launch in Europe are 33% lower than Gotham Knights, 61% lower than Guardians of the Galaxy. The game didn't even make it into the top 10 of the month. Skull and Bones was number 9. And somebody saying it was hard to see any post-launch content turning this around unless they have something major planned. But overall, it doesn't feel like it's worth the time or effort. So curious to see what the future holds for the studio, especially considering the founders are gone and Warner mostly focused on live service titles going forward.
First of all, welcome over 50,000 people to the show. But even with that illuminating news, you know that's pretty bad. Have they made any comparisons to Avengers 2020 I don't want to say 2017, Avengers 2019?
Yeah.
They have made comparisons to Avengers 2019.
It didn't reach the same numbers as Avengers 2019.
It didn't even reach Avengers numbers?
In player base, yeah. Player base numbers, yeah. It did not make the same numbers as Avengers. And we got a question from Najee.
Do you guys think that people still like playing the Joker?
Oh yeah.
No.
So Joker DLC, there will be Joker DLC. There will be some people coming back just to play Joker, but then they'll stop playing it after they finish the story thing. After that story thing, they'll stop playing it again because they're not going to stick around. They're not going to stick around and do the end game stuff for that.
And that's largely because the Joker DLC was announced. Like, I think Joker was a pre-order, if I remember correctly, same day, or at least the announcement was.
No, that's a DLC. That's
Okay.
not a. But it's like what Warner Brothers is not looking at, or Rocksteady is not looking at, is the fact that you're doing things wrong. Here's what I would do if I was making a Suicide Squad game. Yes, I would make it live service, but I would make it partially live service, not fully blown live service. That's what I would do.
So you would have life service elements or life service mechanics, but you wouldn't have it fully. You wouldn't have it the whole thing be live service. Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying, Deladia?
yeah. That way it would sell. That way you could get people coming back to playing the game. That way, if people don't like the game, at least people can. Then you can say, look, well, you made money, and if you wanted the Justice League skins, you could pay for the Justice League skins, and that would sell easily because there's that $100 for the deluxe edition was not worth it.
Did you guys hear about the Sweet Baby Ink stuff in the gaming
Yes,
industry?
yes,
Okay,
yes.
yes, we have, and this is all I'm going to say on it. If you have nothing nice to say
Don't
nothing
say,
at all.
don't say
That
anything
is a
at all.
golden rule in everything, from business to commerce. If you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. I will not name names, but you do not go on the internet and slander people for the sake of it, because the internet never forgets.
Hmm.
And that's all I'm going to say on that. But with that controversy aside,
But there is like I'll say this right, the way
okay,
Warner Brothers are handling things right now, I'm telling you, their brand is already
it's screwed.
effed up.
It's
They're
screwed.
screwed. Yeah, it's screwed. There's no way salvaging salvaging any IPs besides maybe Wonder Woman that will possibly save the brand for DC. But other than that, and the Superman game, or whether it's WB Montreal making the Superman game, if that is not partial live service, you could possibly have a winner there. But if not, and everything is live service, no, your whole brand is probably going to be sold off within a month or two. Given the situation as a video game, well, I mean, I'm a big video gamer, so I know this stuff, and I've seen this stuff happen before, right?
Right.
Do you remember a long time ago when Warner Brothers was going to merge with another studio? They were
I remember.
planning to they were planning to sell off the games division
I remember that.
separately.
Yes, they
They
were
were
finna license it off. I remember this. This was like
yeah,
what, 5 years ago? 6 years
yeah,
ago?
about 4 or 5 years ago. They were planning to sell it off to either Microsoft or one of the other companies, and the fact is it didn't go through because Warner Brothers merged with Discovery, and Discovery inherited the gaming division.
Yep.
But because David Zaslav, like, here's what I don't understand. David Zaslav said that here's what he said, and in quotation, this is what he said, right? Um, in quotation, right? He said this, right? We have a very good gaming business with 11 different studios of real talented capability, but the deal difference for us as a company is that we own the IP. The IP belongs to us, and we're developing it. In some cases, we choose to may choose to develop it with a third-party technology company. We may we may be the only media company that owns whether it's DC, Harry Potter, all the content that we own, Game of Thrones, that's for us to deploy. I think it's particularly important strategically. If you look at Hogwarts Legacy, a big piece of success of that game, you got into that world, if you're a player, you're into that game, you're into that world. That's the kind of new concept before it was gaming and story and it was storytelling, and now it's very difficult to understand what the definition of metaverse is when we and it says when we launch a product on Mac or HBO, and when we have a game, that game belongs to us. But now there's an in-betweener. So it may be the next couple of years when we launch a Superman movie and people spend more times and there's more economics for people just hanging out in that Superman world and universe. The fact that we owned all of that is something that I think is going to be really important as we look forward as technology develops. And given the amount of time that people spend on gaming, we don't want to see the motion and picture and long form storytelling business and someone else in the business of hanging out in these worlds. These worlds are going to be quite profitable in the years ahead. All right.
Right.
And and then if you remember a few weeks ago when they said, oh, we're going to make the live service going forward. Yo, what's up, Zeke? Zeke says
What's
multiverse.
up?
Zeke says, I wonder how they're gonna spread the IP in multiverses. Yeah, that's very concerning.
That is. The single
Uh,
player Harry Potter game is amazing. The new one also, I will be worried if the next game became live service.
oh, they already announced that the next Harry
Oh,
Potter IP,
that's just about
it,
confirmed.
it's already been confirmed that the next IP that is Harry Potter franchise will be live service. That's a guarantee. So, I mean,
Thanks for coming on to the show, Zeke. But what we were saying. Okay, if we're having an objective argument about this,
yeah.
would you say they should just either do a complete overhaul from the bottom up, or just sell everything off and then just license everything?
Sell everything and licensing out. That's the best way to deal with it.
Why do you say that, Taladia?
Let me just answer Zeke's question, then I'll get back to yours.
Okay.
Is the next Harry Potter game the Quidditch game, or no? The next game is the Quidditch game, and that would be live service going forward. That would be live service. Same with the multiverses. Multiverses will be live service. But to answer your question, right? Uh, Jay, is that Warner Brothers needs to just sell the gaming division off, sell it off, make that money back, and then just license it out to different studios. They can't do it in house anymore. There's no way you can make profit on in the house anymore. There's zero proof of you doing in house stuff, and you're making profit from it.
But I would apply that. Would you apply that to DC as a whole, like movies, TV shows?
No, just the video games.
Just video games.
Just the video game side of it. The movie side you can make a profit on. That's for
Okay.
sure. And the TV as well, because numbers and whatnot, streaming
Optics.
services. So there's that. But in the video game world, you have to don't do it in house, because if you do it in house, your game flops. Studio heads leave the studio.
And I know this is practically a niche at this point, but would you consider licensing out the comics publishing
No,
too? Because
no,
keep them in house.
you have to keep that in house. You can't
Okay.
do that house. Naji saying like Marvel in the 90s.
That was full scale bankruptcy, Najee. That was a completely different context.
Yeah, that was a different context with WB selling off this. Here's
But
the
I see
thing.
where you're. Go ahead, Talati.
Here's the thing. When they sell off the company, they have to sell off everything. It has to be everything. They can't just keep one thing and keep the other thing. Like AT&T were planning to sell off the gaming division back in 2020, and they can
Yes.
still do it now. They can still do it now and can say, look, we want to sell off the DC brand, the Mortal Kombat brand, the Harry Potter franchise. They can sell them off to different studios, and that can work for them. License them out. But because they don't think that profiting making live service is going to be profit beyond their comprehension, they don't realize that it doesn't work like that in the video game. Like that's why a lot of reporters and news outlets don't like live service, and that's why do you think like Suicide Squad never got a review copy?
Nope. And I feel like this mentality applies nowadays even more with streaming, because there's always the next big thing, the next big thing. How can we top the previous thing? And yes, back in 2017, live service games peaked. They were the top of the crown. They were very up there. But once a particular genre or setting peaks,
it goes downhill from there.
And even then, I would even make the argument that this particular genre, that Suicide Squad
What is Zeke saying?
Oh, hold on. I'm surprised they haven't done enough with Fortnite. Maybe Disney has more pull in the gaming industry to a degree.
Yes, Disney has more of the gaming industry. Disney has got some footing for Fortnite and Epic Games. So
Yes.
anything that Disney owns will be able to be done on Fortnite. But Warner Brothers, this is a different thing for Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers needs to start selling off their thing because their shares right now it's less than $8 in stock.
And granted, Disney's doing pretty bad too, but that's all across the board. Movies, TV shows, get that's all across the board. DC's in this hole just from the gaming alone.
DC alone, they don't have anything. They don't have anything. Only the Wonder Woman game just to salvage everything.
And even
And
then,
see,
that's a high risk, high reward.
as you know, WB Montreal are indeed supporting Wonder Woman as a support studio.
Yes.
So I wouldn't be surprised after Wonder Woman comes out that we get WB Montreal's next game announcement. I wouldn't be surprised, and they bank on that too.
If I were a betting man, I would just go for another Mortal Kombat. At least that way, that'll buy you a couple of
No,
months.
you can't do another Mortal Kombat. No,
Okay. How so?
because Mortal Kombat is also kind of failing to live up to the expectations of fans right now when there's so many problems for that game.
Ooh, I did not know that. That's why you're our gaming expert, Taladia.
Like yeah, like I know that there's not many player base for some of these games. They shouldn't have done Mortal Kombat 1. What they should have done is Injustice 3. Should have gone back to Injustice and carried on the Injustice universe. That way you've got yourself an Injustice game and you can make bank with DC. Injustice 2 made a lot of money purely because of the live service elements of it.
That is true. But even if we're not factoring Kevin Conroy's passing, you have the Superman ending and then you had the Batman ending. The Batman ending is basically a return to the status quo, but with Clark getting depowered and thrown in the Phantom Zone. So you would have
Yeah.
to create a new threat from the ground up. Whereas with the Superman ending, he pretty much infuses himself with Brainiac's technology, becomes Brainiac Superman, and we get the sequel to that in a tie-in comic crossing over with the Masters of the Universe and He-Man. So if you are going to get an Injustice 3, either you would have to do a de facto Apocalypse War storyline with Darkseid or adapt the Masters of the Universe crossover verbatim.
But it's like I said, you know, it's like I said, it's not easy. It it is not easy, being a game developer.
It's not. It really is not.
It really isn't. But if you say to people, "Oh, I'm gonna make it the next Superman game," they want it single player. They don't want it live. They do not want a full blown live service game. If you're gonna say, "I'm making a Wonder Woman game," they don't want a live service. They want a single player experience. That's why Warner Brothers pushed back at it when they said, "Oh, we're not making it a live service." But it wouldn't surprise me if they backtracked on that now and decided to put the live service elements into the game.
I would not be surprised.
And they would have to take it out again. Guarantee you that would be the case if Wonder Woman has live service elements into it. Like how Shadow of Mordor was, that had live service elements into it, and they had to take it out as soon as they found loot boxes and whatnot.
And speaking about with Disney gaming news with Disney, I heard the old arcade Battlefront 2, the original Battlefront 2, was getting a remaster, and people are not taking to it well.
Oh, that's a buggy mess. Same as Suicide Squad. It's a buggy mess.
Wait, are we talking Sonic 06 bad or Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League bad?
Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League bad.
Ooh. See, because at least Sonic 06 just lagged a lot. Ooh. Ooh.
There's no servers. There's barely any servers you could do. There's so many bugs in the game that is I would say barely playable.
But again, that game was from the early 2000s. I mean, you would have to completely recode and restructure that game from the ground up to even be remotely compatible to today's systems.
The thing is, the Star Wars Battlefront game, it's bad. It's really bad. So they're gonna have to patch that as soon as they can.
I mean, I knew I had a feeling it was going to be bad because they're trying to rebuild the Star Wars IP with a 25-year-old game, but from what I've heard, ooh,
No, pretty much that's all I can say, man. Like Star Wars, they just it's in really bad shape. Same with DC. They're lucky. Marvel is very lucky. They cancelled the live service Spider-Man multiplayer game. They're very, very fortunate they cancelled that at the very
they
at the
are.
last,
They are.
because if that went through,
Whew.
you know, fans some fans will like it, some fans won't. Some fans will just backlash at it. Even though they'll say, "Oh, yeah, right now, I'm seeing a lot of people on Twitter saying, why didn't we get this?" You're never gonna get that. There's a reason why it was cancelled, because of the Avengers, because of the fact of Suicide Squad, because of the leak, the excessive leak for Insomniac. You're never gonna get that.
You're never going to get an official answer. It could have been a combination of things.
Yeah, you're never gonna get an official answer. But I know for a fact that it probably was, some of it was probably to do with Suicide Squad, because they probably saw that it wasn't doing well, so they're not gonna risk it. So, like, guys, if you got any questions you want to ask me, put them in the chat now, before we wrap up and everything, because I've got like, let me see how much I've got. I've got about an hour and 30 minutes before I have to head out. So if you got any questions, put them in the chat, whether it's WB Montreal, whether it's Rocksteady, whether it's DC Gaming, whether it's Marvel Gaming, or whether it's anything you want to ask me, you can put it in the chat before
I
we
think we
wrap
should.
up.
I think we should go ahead and move on to TVs and shows because I know a lot of companies were going
Yeah.
to take 2024 off, but this is not looking like a good year so far. I mean, it's really not.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, X-Men 97. Oh boy, that's a can of worms.
And since we're already talking about it, we might as well. You are using, they, them, and all this other stuff on a character who has the ability to shapeshift, who can turn into any form they want.
Hmm.
I mean, it's kind of counterproductive. I appreciate the sentiment. I appreciate the representation, but it kind of, I just feel like you could have given that to anyone else and it would have more impact. But that aside, I understand why they're doing it because they want to revitalize X-Men, especially with the Fox contracts wrapping up at the end of this year. But I'm just not a fan of the Archer animation style. I'm really not. It kind of looks like the Tomorrowverse, in my opinion, just with a bigger budget. What do you think, Taladia?
I've got no words.
Fair enough. And what else is coming out this year? The Agatha Harkness show that I'm pretty sure that's all but shelved. And Falcon and Captain America 4 is getting reshot with reshoots. Marvel's 2 didn't do so hot. No, wait, that's a movie from last year. Again, there's not too much coming out this year, but even so, I just feel like this is going to be a bad year. I'm not saying Hollywood is going to collapse or anything like that. I just don't think it's going to be a good year. Daredevil Born Again. That is true. That's coming out, but it won't be as good as, I don't think it'll be as good as the original Netflix show. I honestly don't. But I'll at least give it a chance. If I'm requested to review it, I'll review it. But at the very least, I'll give the show a chance. What? Hold on. Let me, Tala, do you mind taking over for a bit while I look something up?
Yeah, sure. Daredevil Born Again, yeah. But guys, I'll say this, right? When it comes down to animation, film, there is kind of a problem right now. Um, there's a lot happening that needs to be fixed. So I can say that much. CinemaCon is in April, with studio announced for films this year and also 2025 and beyond. Okay, I don't know what will happen for DC, but Marvel will have the tons of things that I reckon. So, you good, Jahi?
Yeah, I just had to look something up. CinemaCon is coming to April with studios announced films for this year, also 2025, also beyond. And even what's the best way I could say this? I hope things get better. I really do. Because we kind of need a bit of a win right now, all across the board.
Hmm.
Not just DC, not just Marvel, everybody. But with the way things are heading, and with recent stocks, and from what we know from actual publicly acknowledged information, I feel like the Hollywood bubble is bursting. I really do. I mean, sure, you could argue the streaming wars, but that's a separate conversation of itself. But I just think this is going to be a bad year for Hollywood. Whether they recover is depending on consumers and public perception. Do you agree, Chaladia?
I agree.
Okay. I feel like it's about time we really now. Granted, we're not wrapping up just yet. We're just getting our final thoughts out. But if you guys have anything else you guys want to say, please feel free to type in the comment section. So I'll let Taladia go into his final thoughts, followed by myself, and then we'll wrap, and then we'll go from there.
Okay,
Taladia,
so my final thoughts is be excited for Dragon Ball Sparking Zero because that game is going to be very very exciting. And as for DC, I wouldn't put anything as a betting man. I wouldn't expect anything hyped until maybe when Wonder Woman releases.
Okay. Oh, okay. As for me, yes, please be on the lookout for Sparking Zero and any other future announcements with other Dragon Ball related properties. Also, as for the big two, we're just kind of in a bad year right now. Like, we're still going through the bleed of 2023, the year that had of diminishing returns and a few flops, to say the least. So this is kind of a what's the best way I could say this? It's kind of a recall year, a chance to reflect, see where the audience is headed, and then try to hit strong in 2025. So we kind of already knew 2024 was going to be bad, but I did not expect it to be this bad.
We have got a question from Najee. What's your thoughts on?
This event for April. Are we speaking Marvel or DC, Najee Tech, bro? Because Absolute Power doesn't come out till this summer. If you're talking DC, at least the main event doesn't kick off till this summer. But I'll wait for him to respond with that.
Mhm.
Oh, CinemaCon. CinemaCon, these are just an opportunity for people to announce what they got coming up, and it's a good way to get more information. So I feel like CinemaCon itself will be relatively successful if it goes well, but I'm not really hyped for a particular project at this time. Taladia, your thoughts?
Ah, I'm not much into CinemaCon, so who mentioned Super Sons? I did not mention Super Sons.
Neither did I. Neither did I. How you doing,
Gonna
Tevye? And what film to hope to be announced?
That's hard to say. Very hard to say in this day and age. And
It really
Tevia,
is.
you probably see my video, Tevia, about WB Games Montreal. You've probably seen the video that I posted about WB Games Montreal's new job listing. So if you got any questions about that, put them in the chat right now before we wrap up and anything. If you want to ask me that, or if you got any theories as well. And if you got any questions about the Wonder Woman game or Suicide Squad, let me know. Because I know you just come in late.
Yeah, we'll give you a few minutes to if you have any questions, Tevia. Is there another Hollywood strike? Not that we know of.
No, nobody knows. No.
Not that we know of. But even if we didn't factor that, again, like we've been saying before, 2023 was a floppy year in terms of financials, in terms of movie financing. They just don't want to take a lot of risk right now. And Tevia asks, question, do you believe the Wonder Woman game will not be a live service?
That's 50-50, Tevia. Like, I reckon they probably will make it. They will probably make it um partially live service like Shadow of War was, just because they want to have that monetization in there. But they probably will take it out as soon as everyone finds out there has monetization in it. They'll probably take it out, like they did with Shadow of War.
More than likely.
It's a likely scenario. You hope it isn't. Well, Tevia, that's the fact of what WBD has just announced. I mean, they said that they were going to make their games live service. And if you got any questions about WB Montreal, ask away because I can answer those because I have got a ton of information that I know that you guys don't know. What's up, David?
What's up?
Sir David. David, I gotta show you something.
Go ahead and screen share it, Taladia.
No, it's not a screen share.
Okay.
Ta-da!
Nathaniel, what's up, Nathaniel? How you doing?
Whoops. Whoops. You can hear me, yeah?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you. Yeah, All Star Superman by Grant
cool.
Morrison.
Yeah. Yeah, I got All Star Superman, yes. So if
me.
you got any questions for us about video games, feel free to ask about WB Games Montreal, the Wonder Woman game, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, whichever it is, ask us before we wrap up. Question from Tevia. Can you put it up because I can't see it?
Question: do you believe Suicide Squad killed the Justice League as a failure? As for Warner Brothers Montreal, do you believe making a Superman game? Do you believe they are making a Superman game? Because if that happens, I'll be so happy.
So as far as Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, it is a failure. Keep that.
Okay.
As for Suicide Squad, yes, it is a failure. As for WB Montreal, I do believe they're making a Superman game, but isn't the Superman game you're thinking, Tevia? It's a different thing. It'll be a different thing. As for like what WB Montreal want to do, I do know that the studio head for WB Games Montreal has left the company, and they are looking for a creative director for the game, for the next upcoming game or whatever it is. They're looking for a creative director. So I do know that as facts.
And this is the third time in my life a YouTuber has noticed me. Hey man, we're glad you actually came to support the channel. We appreciate it. I don't know much about video games. I usually play Roblox and stuff, but can you play Xenoverse on PlayStation? You should be able to play Xenoverse on PlayStation.
Yes, Xenoverse 2 and you're able to play Xenoverse 2 on PlayStation. There will be a free up if you got Xenoverse 2, you will be able to free update that game because it's a free there is a free thing. There's going to be a free thing where you can update. Question. Is then it's a single player multiplayer. From what I've heard, it's a single player game. Not a multiplayer. From what I've heard from somebody that I know. He's been saying that it's a single player game with flying mechanics. Any news on what happened to WB Games on old products like from early 2000, like the horror game? No. Nothing from what I know from that. Um, Nothing on regards to in regards to
Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman game. Uh, thank God it's a single player. Yeah, don't take it as factual though, Tevia. Don't take it as facts because I don't know if it's legit or not. I'm just taking it as a rumor at the moment because the rumor it could be a multiplayer game. So take it as
Grain
grain
of
of
salt.
salt. Yeah, because that's what I'm doing right now. I'm taking
Dude,
everything with a grain of salt. Xenoverse.
it did have an online element, but I don't think it was live service. But it did have an online mode.
So Xenoverse 2 is multiplayer, yes.
Okay.
Xenoverse 2 is multiplayer, yes. And you can play with your friends, you can do raids, you can do there's so many different things you could do in the game now. It's ridiculous. There's so many DLCs in the game too.
But would you say there'll ever be a Xenoverse 3?
That's hard to say. I know what you're trying. That's hard to say because they got Sparking Zero coming up pretty soon.
That is true. That is true. But hey, while we're out here, please let us know in the chat what was your favorite Dragon Ball games when you were growing up or your favorite arcs from the series. We'd be happy to know if you guys have the time. But as for me, I as you know, I'm a 90s kid, so my favorites had to be the Budokai and Budokai Tenkaichi games. But if I had to pick one outside that slot, I'd have to say Raging Blast. That was a pretty good series of games, the first and second one. It's no Budokai, but those are pretty solid games. I haven't heard much about Xenoverse 3. I only know about 1 and 2. Speaking of news, apparently today we're getting a horse. I just think Winnie the Pooh officially hit public domain, but if they do make a horror series out of that, I would not be surprised. The Cell Games art was my favorite. Thank you for responding, David. I appreciate it. Obviously, Xenoverse and oh my God, the Budokai. Come on.
Wow.
The Budokai games were game changers. Now, Xenoverse, they have a lot of polish. They have a lot of modernness to them. But you can't go wrong with Budokai. Like, come on. Are you guys going to play the Sandsland game demo for upcoming? Probably not, if I'm being honest.
No, because it's not for us.
We got another comment. I have Mugen on my laptop. Also, I've been playing old PlayStation 2 games. Cool. My favorite has to be the Frieza. Oh, he's going in a particular order. Frieza, then Cell and Boo. But Cell games have my boy Gohan Super Saiyan 2, but was so awesome and it made me happy. Yeah, the Cell Saga is a pretty solid arc. It's solid. As for me, my favorite arc, if we're going strictly within Z, I'd have to say the Frieza Saga. Now, granted, Gohan was able to step into his own in the Cell games proper, but you had a setup from previous arcs to build up to that. Cell Saga was just a payoff. If I had to go, but hey, the first Super Saiyan. Come on. The Frieza Saga is iconic. All the PlayStation 2 Dragon Ball games were my favorite, and the only ones I played. Oh, man, you and me both, David. You and me both. My favorite Dragon Ball games is the Budokai games growing up. Taladia, what were your favorite games?
My favorite game?
Yes.
Obviously, I would have to say Kakarot.
Okay. Nothing wrong with that.
Because you got to play the story.
I used to go to my uncle's house and watch the early arcs with Kid Goku and stuff. Hey, OG Dragon Ball is pretty good too. It's not a prequel. It's Dragon Ball, then Dragon Ball Z, and so on. So, hey, if you guys haven't watched OG Dragon Ball already, go ahead. I highly recommend it. I did play Goku Legacy on my Game Boy. Oh, God, I forgot about Goku Legacy. Oh, man, that game was a headache to get through. Oh, oh man, I had a night. Oh, Shin Budokai. Let us know in the chat. Does anyone remember Shin Budokai? Oh man, good times, good times. But there's Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball's a good franchise all the same. What's your favorite arc in Super? Ooh, it's close. Are we talking strictly anime, manga, or both? If I remember the stupid names. If I remember the stupid names to those games, I had a game I raged on stuff I don't remember. It's 2D, yeah. Wasn't Shin Budokai on the Wii, which isn't great. They made so many when I was younger. Anime or both. Okay. If we're strictly going by the Super anime, I want to say the Goku Black Art. Granted, the ending is a bit of a downgrade, but otherwise it's solid. As for the manga, I have to go for the moral arc simply for Oob and the tie-in to End of Z.
Mm-hmm.
Taladia, what was your favorite arc?
For me, it was I would have to say either the Blue Saga or the Cell games.
That's fair. That's fair.
But is there any more questions, or is that pretty much it?
I'll give them a few more minutes to see if there's anything else left in the conversation. But while we're waiting on that, we can go ahead and start promoting what we got going on the channel. Taladia, you're my guest. Please feel free to go first.
I'm your co-host, not guest. Get it right.
All right,
As
go.
as for me on my channel, which is at Taladia Plays, I just finished watching a video how to be spears. Oh wow. Um,
Interesting.
as for as for me, in terms of my content, get rid of the banner
Okay.
so people know where to find me. So you guys follow me on Twitter at Taladia Plays _ and you can check me out at Taladia Plays on YouTube, where I cover DC, Marvel, and talk about comic books on my channel. At the moment, I'm not doing any live streams, but I have been posting videos that in regards to WB games or Rocksteady or Suicide Squad. There'll be content for that in the future. And I will be doing more content with Jay Heat, Jared from Comics League, and the Nick from the Phoenix Press. There will be some content from us pretty soon. Tevia's got a question for us.
Okay. Question. Speaking of Dragon Ball Super or Dragon Ball as a whole, I'm just wondering what is your favorite movie, games, and anime as a whole? Okay, I have a variety of favorites. Like you got Berserk, you got Overlord, which I recently did with Nick Lenz an Anime Blaze episode on, and like and comment, subscribe to Taladia Plays.
Yeah,
And I'll watch just about at least an anime once. If I like it, I like it. If I don't, I don't. But I'll watch an anime, especially if I'm recommended. I'll watch an anime at least once. But let me subscribe. Oh, thank you. Please subscribe to both of us, Nathan. We really appreciate it. But Taladia, would you say you have a particular favorite other than Dragon Ball?
no, just Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball has been my go-to.
Okay. Let me just get set up right here. Please feel free to subscribe to me as well, J Heat Blaze. But as for me, I also any recent anime you guys are got into as of late? Not right now because I am still wrapping up Fire Force for the next Anime Blaze episode, so we can wrap up season 2. So I'm almost done on that one, and I start JoJo Bizarre Adventure after that. So nothing else at this time. Taladia, are you into any new anime right now?
No, I'm into Dragon Ball.
Okay. As for me, you can find me at jheat75 or or J Heat Blaze on YouTube. Also, I also do playthroughs on gaming, movie. I do playthroughs on like Soul Tour, Mass Effect, even some mobile games from time to time, though not as common. So if you're a fan of gaming commentary like this, or even movie reviews, please feel free to check me out. And I also collab with other YouTube creators like myself, such as Taladia Plays, Nick Lenz, The Phoenix Press, Jared from Comics League, my brother Kid Takeoff, and just if you'd be so kind as to not only subscribe and like this video and support me, please feel free to support these creators I mentioned as well. They've been a big help for me since my return to YouTube and my recent endeavors as a whole. And before we wrap up, we have a few questions. My favorites are Dragon Ball Z, ReZero. That's actually a pretty good one. Eminence and Shadow. Oh, I had to give that one a try. And the stuff like that time I got reincarnated as a slime. I've heard of that one. I actually had to check that one out. Final question. Any favorite Dragon Ball villain from the entire franchise, from the movies, games, or shows? Cooler. Saladia, do you have a particular favorite villain?
For
Dragon Ball. It could be movies, it could be the shows, it could be the manga.
I would have to say enemy has to be classic Frieza.
Classic Frieza. Okay, that's fair. Okay. All right. Good luck on your exam, Nathaniel. I appreciate you taking the time to come on to the show. But with that being said, like and comment and subscribe, everybody. Thank you so much to the over 65 people who joined us tonight across multiple platforms. Oh. Thanks again for subscribing. And with that being said, like, comment, subscribe.
And super wonderful life.